What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to TTP Sports. And the Philadelphia Flyers, they just lose to the Carolina Hurricanes, showcasing how completely outclassed they are by a team like Carolina. And they're only in this game is honestly because of Martin Jones and the way he played. He was simply fantastic in this game. Sadly, the offense, the defense, everything in front of him, just couldn't sustain any offensive zone pressure. What else is new? And that is the result. I was even surprised the game was tied at the end of the second period going into the third. But, the typical Flyers, they're always, tied and losing by one goal going into the third period. So they're still within the game, technically. But at the end of the day, outclassed by a way better team, and this team is completely far off from where they need to be. So before we get into all of that stuff, like I said, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And before we get into everything with this Flyers game, the most important thing you can do is hit that subscribe button. I will greatly appreciate that. So if you are new, looking for all the latest Philadelphia sports news, recaps, and events, this is the channel to be at, depending on the outcome, great or miserable, depending on that outcome. Also, if you are a current viewer of the channel, I am grateful for you being here that long and looking to continue that down the road. And if you're looking for tickets to upcoming sporting events, concerts, whatever you can think of, use the code TTPSPORTS down below for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek today. So if you want to put yourself through a Flyers game, maybe go see Claude Drew's 1,000th game, possibly next Thursday, there's your chance. If you want to go see Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey at the Wells Fargo Center for the Sixers, get yourself some NBA tickets. Baseball's officially back. Get yourself some spring training tickets, opening day tickets. Can't pass that up. And when football season eventually comes back, so it's a free $20 in your pocket for beer, for food at the arena. Can't pass that up whatsoever. So use the code TTP Sports for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek today. So the Flyers fall 3-1 to the Carolina Hurricanes, and I was very surprised that they were. Technically they were in it the entire game, but completely outclassed. Just completely outclassed on all sides of the ice. The Flyers forwards, they cannot generate any type of offensive zone pressure. Basically, it's just dump and chase like they normally do for the past so many years. And the puck immediately goes around the other way. And basically, it feels like this offense really relies on just fast breaks and trying to generate chances off of a rush where they can't even do that right. And then they're forced to defend in their own zone for like 5 minutes. So I feel like, yes, we complain about the defensive lot. Yes, the defense is an issue. I'm not saying the defense isn't an issue because it completely is. Ivan Provorov turned the puck over twice on the go-ahead Carolina goal with 3 minutes left in that third period. So, yes, there's faults on both sides. The defense can't, generate a breakout for their lives, but also the forwards don't put them in the best possible situations for those breakouts because either they're too far away from the defense to do anything or, they're just not good enough. And they just can't generate any type of offensive zone pressure whatsoever. And it's pretty ridiculous. I know like a lot of people really complain about the defense being an issue, but it's both ways. The forwards suck and the defense suck. And really it was just Martin Jones the entire game. Martin Jones was basically the only reason they were in this game to begin with. Martin Jones stops 31 out of 33 shots in this game, so he was good. So if I see Martin Jones having this game national television-wise also on ABC. So if teams are watching this, see Martin Jones put up that type of performance, hey, call the Flyers. Maybe you want some Martin Jones action for your goaltending issues. Toronto, do you want a goaltender? Here you go. Other teams that possibly need a goaltender or a backup just going into the playoffs in general, there's your goaltender, Martin Jones. He just put off a showcase right here. So, yes, I don't think Martin Jones should be a Flyer in the next foreseeable future after this because, maybe that raises trade value a little bit. I know I'm getting my hopes up, but I'm also just joking at the same time. But the trade deadline is, a week away from Monday. So who knows? The Flyers do have 3 days off after tomorrow's game against Montreal at home. So you never know. Martin Jones could be traded within those next 3 days off. So you never know. You never know. And also, Chuck Fletcher was getting interviewed during the second period, I believe it was, if I remember. And it was weird because it was an interview going during the process of the play, which was weird. Why didn't they just do this during the intermission or something like that? But I'm not going to constantly complain about the broadcast. But, why it feels like everything he says is just that, oh, we need this, we need speed, we need skill, we need top end talent, we need all this stuff, we need goal scoring, we need defense. And like, Chuck, you're basically stating every aspect of the team that you need. You basically need everything. And you think this team is going to be competitive next year. That's the one thing that is really confusing me. Like, even though I've said many times, like, I was fine with whether approach the team was going to go with. I was fine with their aggressive retool. I was fine if they were going to choose the rebuild. I would have been fine with either of those choices. But every time you hear him speak about the needs of this team, it kind of feels impossible to do this in one off season again, like they tried to do last year. But also, it kind of does feel like this past off season, was more of a not a one and done type of thing. This was a long process that they're planning to do. And is this just the second step of that process? I have no idea. The trade deadline is the next step right here, but you got to get some good assets in return at this trade deadline. One, when you're re-signing Rasmus Ristolainen, so you're stuck with that, and taking away the assets you could possibly get in return for him. You got to get bank for Claude Giroux. You really do. In the news with the Colorado Avalanche and Gabriel Landeskog getting knee surgery, he's going to be out indefinitely. He'll most likely be back for their playoff run, but Colorado losing their first, second line forward. Maybe they'll go push harder for Claude Giroux, needing to do that replacement. You put Gabriel Landeskog on LTIR, you can take in the Claude Giroux contract, and you pull what the Tampa Bay Lightning do every year. You put someone on LTIR, then you bring them back for the playoffs. There's no salary cap, so there you go. There you go. But it's just maybe Edmonton also needs a goaltender as well, speaking of Martin Jones, but you really have to get your bang for your buck for this Claude Giroux trade, and whatever other trade you do in this offseason not the offseason, you need a trade deadline, because Justin Braun as well. Derek Brassard gets a goal in this game too. So there's still some options at the trade deadline besides Claude Giroux and Justin Braun, but you got to get your assets. You got to get a good asset in return for some of these players. And Rasmus Ristolainen, he's one of those players where you probably could have got something better for. But I'm not going to constantly rip on Ristolainen. I just don't want to do that because I know it's not his fault. But it's basically the acclimates of this season just piling on each other to where I really just can't look at this signing and say, oh, this is probably the best thing for this team right now. I just can't. I can't. It's like I said, it's not the harp on Ristolainen because it's ideally not his fault whatsoever. The entire team just sucks. And I feel bad for a lot of the players on this team. There's going to be a lot of things for Chuck Fletcher to do, and I don't envy what the hell he has to do. But yeah, it's just, I haven't gotten into the game yet because, the Flyers just frustrate me. So first period, surprisingly, very scoreless. Martin Jones making a couple of nice saves. Frederick Anderson robbing JVR as well. The Flyers' power play continues to suck again. And I'm very surprised the Flyers did not give up a power play goal in this game, even though they only took 2 penalties in this game. I'm really surprised because I know we didn't do the Flyers recap for the Panthers game on Thursday, but that was just, with everything going on with baseball, with the Sixers, and that was basically just like, if the Flyers, if it was a closer game, I probably would have done a recap, but since it was more of a blowout like that, I just decided not to do it. But yeah, and you also have Scott Lawton getting the concussion, so that calls Morgan Frost up. Cam York's also back in the lineup from Thursday as well. I thought Cam York looked well, but there's just, with this Scott Lawton situation, hopefully this is a chance for Morgan Frost to show himself. He is playing with Travis Konechny and Oscar Lindblom, so hopefully he can, get some chances. But then again, the Flyers look like they're trying to showcase some of these other older veterans that they're probably going to dangle at the trade deadline. So you never know what's going to happen in this standpoint. But still, basically, it looked like it was a battle of Martin Jones and Frederick Anderson in that first period. More of Martin Jones just because Carolina was just completely outclassing the Flyers in that first period, even though the shots in that period were 15-10 in favor of Carolina. But the Flyers' chances, like a lot of them were off the rush. Kevin Hayes had that one blast when he was off the rush coming into the zone. So there really wasn't anything there going for them. Then you go into that second period. And just this is a beautiful play by the fourth line of Carolina. So you got Derek Stepan going behind the net, basically confusing Martin Jones in this aspect. He thinks he's going to go completely around the net, but instead Stepan passes it back to Steven Lorentz, who buries it into the open net, making it a 1-0 Carolina lead from there. So really, yeah, he confused Jones the hell out of that situation, but that's just a really nice play by their fourth line. And once again, another situation where the Flyers are hemmed in their own zone. So really the only aspect of this game where the Flyers played good is probably the second half of that second period. It really is. Because really throughout the entire game, I don't think like, yeah, you can say they battled and stuff and everything there, but really the only aspect of this game where the Flyers looked good was that second half of the second period. And that resulted in a couple of chances there. You got the goal by Cam Atkinson that was taken away because of goaltender interference. Derek Brassard driving around to the net, where I don't blame the refs for calling that goalie interference, even though I don't think Derek Brassard really had nowhere else to go but go into the goaltender. But still, goal gets waved off. It's still a 1-0 Carolina lead. Then very seconds after, on that very same shift, you got Cam Atkinson getting a nice clearing attempt, puts it on Frederick Anderson. He can't caress the rebound. Derek Brassard beat into defense, and he puts it past Anderson, making it a 1-1 game. So there you go. The Flyers tie the game up, and they're actually looking pretty decent. But you go into the third period, and really this in the second period, well, the shots do showcase how better the Flyers did play, 14-12 in favor of them. But the third period was your typical game for Carolina to shut down defensively. They're one of the best defensive teams the best defensive team in the National Hockey League. And that really showcased in that entire third period. The Flyers basically had no chances whatsoever, and they weren't able to cash in. And really, it goes down to that last, couple of minutes opportunities right there, because it's another goaltending battle between Frederick Anderson and Martin Jones for majority of the third. And you go to the final 3 minutes, and Ivan Provorov, Flyers once again hemmed in their own zone because they can't generate any type of offensive pressure whatsoever. And Ivan Provorov turns the puck over once, and then he has another chance to clear his zone. He turns the puck over once again. Cam Atkinson loses the board battle, and then it eventually becomes a deflection goal for Jordan Martinook. You got Trocheck taking the shot from the point, goes over the glove of Jones, becomes a 2-1 Carolina lead. Flyers elect to pull the goaltender with around like 2.5 minutes in the period. And honestly, the Flyers did not have more than 5 seconds, 10 seconds of offensive zone time during that entire empty net sequence. Like, come on. Like that should showcase right here how blame goes on both sides to where it's not just defenders, it's the forwards that can't generate anything in the goddamn offensive zone. They barely had pressure. They did. And then eventually, how many times Carolina took it back into the Flyer zone and killed like 10 seconds off the clock? They did that at least 3 times during that entire shift. And then it eventually turns into Sebastian Aho burying in the empty netter and stealing the game away. So Flyers lose that game. Well, of course, I've said that many times, but seriously, at this point, and 3 stars of this game, first star goes to Jordan Martinook with the game winner, Derek Stepan with the second star. I believe he got his 500 career points in this game, and he got Frederick Anderson being the third star with how good he was in net for Carolina. And also Martin Jones, he was basically the best Flyer on the ice tonight. So yeah, good game for Martin Jones. Basically, like I really can't pull positives. Like it's that same situation once again. Like, they're in it within the third period, but then they're completely outclassed majority of the game. They have their one stretch where people look at the positives right there. But if you look at the entire game in general, the Flyers are completely outclassed. They are, and they are really farther away than I think Chuck Fletcher thinks. Really, I think the Flyers are completely further away than this team actually thinks they are, because they're just not within these, even though, like, technically, yes, score-wise, they are in the game, but they're getting dominated on every facet of the game. It is. Goaltending was the only reason they were in this game. Goaltending. Martin Jones was the only reason they were in this game. My God, this team. It just continues to, I don't know. This team just really just gets under my skin with how bad, like it's really just seriously, like you're this bad. And this front office really thinks they're this close to competing next year. Oh man, you have a lot of work to do. I don't envy you whatsoever. I'm just in it for, I think this team's going to be bad for a little bit. I really am starting to like get more towards that scenario where this team is going to be bad for a little bit. I think they are. It does start with, hopefully they do get like, at least a third, second, first overall pick in the draft this year. But from there, trade deadline, free agency, offseason trades, it's a lot of work to do. A lot of work and very minimal cap space to work with. I know you're going to most likely gain some cap space with the trade deadline, but I don't envy Chuck Fletcher's work. I really don't. I really don't. And at this point, it's basically just, I'll see it when I believe it. I really will. Man. And if we look at the upcoming schedule for this team, Flyers play tomorrow against the Montreal Canadiens. Oh boy, I can't wait to see how that game goes because the Flyers lost to Montreal earlier in the season, and Montreal is one of the other worst teams in the National Hockey League, even though they got a little bit of a hot streak going on with Martin St. Louis being their head coach. Montreal is 7-3 in their last 10. Wow. So yeah, Montreal's the hot team coming into this game, and you never know. They could beat the Flyers. I can definitely see that happening. Really, I can. Carter Hart's going to be the starter for the Flyers tomorrow. Then the Flyers, they got 3 days off during this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're back on St. Patrick's Day this Thursday, March 17th at the Wells Fargo Center, which should be Claude Giroux's 1,000th career game in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform and also in the National Hockey League. And it sounds like the Flyers are preparing for something huge for Claude Giroux for that ceremony. So let's get to that day. Let's get through tomorrow. Hopefully, G does not get hurt. I know he had a little bit of a situation where he was like stretching his hand a little bit on the bench, but he was fine after that. So I think G will be fine. He'll get to his 1,000th game, and we'll be able to see that. And then really, we're really close to the possibility of Claude Giroux no longer being in a Flyers uniform after this week. So yeah, it's getting there. We're almost a week until the trade deadline. A week from Monday, and it's a weird time. It's definitely a weird time, but for how bad this team is, really everyone's just gearing towards the trade deadline. I think that's basically the entire situation. And yeah, I do see some people over in the live feed right here. Like usually when I do these live streams, I try to take, more of the beginning aspect, just treat it like it's a normal video. Then if there are people like viewing the stream, I'll talk to some of you guys. So I'll talk to some of you guys right here. I see Soda right here. Hey, how you doing, man? Maybe use it for the Phantoms tickets to see Morgan Frost. My God, the only offensive zone pressure was in the first period. I doubt that. Yeah, Edmonton cough for Martin Jones, but yeah, this team is just, my goodness, they're just bad. They're just completely bad all over the place. It's not fun to watch. It isn't. And they're just completely outclassed by a lot of their opponents that they play. Honestly, I can see them being outclassed by Montreal tomorrow. I honestly couldn't believe that with this team. I really can. And that's not me just being a Debbie Downer. I honestly believe they'll be outclassed by Montreal tomorrow with the way Montreal's been playing. So, yeah. So I think that's going to end it for this one, boys. I'm going to hop off for this one. So what are your thoughts on this game? What are your thoughts on getting closer and closer towards the trade deadline with Claude Giroux and everything? Don't forget to leave all those thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I like to see those as always. Don't forget to drop a like on this video. Don't forget to check out the Painted Lines, which I'm a part of. Their links are down in the description below. Also, don't forget to check out the links to BrodesMedia, the Florida.pod merch website, and also Flyers Nitty Gritty. All that stuff is down in the description below. Do not forget to check those out. And like I said at the beginning of the video, the most important thing you can do is hit that sub button and also use the code TTPSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. And I will